And so one of the other main things that we want to do during lunch today is, as we looked out at this community, Rich was just talking about community, we felt like this has been evolving for a little while now. We've had folks who have shown up here a couple years in a row. We've had, our own online newsletter and other ways of just connecting with people over time, and we feel like we have built up a certain amount of community around leading learning, and this whole concept of leading learning. And as a part of doing that, of course, we've gotten to interact with so many people and see what you're doing in your organizations. And I mean, there are people here who are really just doing some great work. We're going to talk about some specific instances of it, but I think across this room people are just doing wonderful things in serving the communities that they're serving. We, however, wanted to specifically recognize some of the members of the community for what we think is just particularly remarkable work. So this year we're going to introduce the Learning Business Leadership Awards as a way to recognize people who we feel have just really been leaders in their organizations and acknowledge them publicly. It's not a Nobel Prize, so there's not a big cash pot to go with it or anything like that. But we do expect them to acknowledge it, unlike Mr. Dillon, that they are receiving an award. So this year for our inaugural Learning Business Leadership Awards, I'm going to have the privilege of announcing the first recipient, and Celisa will announce the second recipient. The first recipient of the award is somebody who is, I've seen just consistently do innovative work and really be a leader throughout the positions that he's held across a number of different associations. And I met him years ago when he was at the Association of, I'm not even sure if I can remember, University Housing Officers, College and University Housing Officers. And I was working with the North Carolina CPAs at the time, and when they needed a new director of education, I said, you really need to talk to this guy to see if he happens to be thinking about doing anything different. And fortunately, he was, and ended up going to the North Carolina CPAs for a while and making some great progress and changes there. But then ultimately needed to make a move back to Ohio for family reasons, and the Ohio Society of CPAs has been very lucky to initially hire him, I believe, as a director of learning or director of education, but he is now, I'm not even sure if I actually know your official title now, Josh, you might have to say it when you come up here. It was Vice President of Learning, but I think it may be in the process of changing because the Ohio CPAs are always changing. They're always being innovative, and we wanted to recognize Josh for his role in leading the innovation at OSCPA. We talked earlier about the example of what they're doing with microlearning. That's just the tip of the iceberg. They have really made a tremendous effort to identify the places where they can provide more value and have more impact with their membership base. And Josh has played a critical role in making that happen, and I'm sure will continue to play a critical role in making that happen. So, Josh, I'd like to welcome you up here as one of our initial recipients of the Learning Business Leadership Award.
I really wasn't going to say anything, and then the comments this morning, I started to see some themes about it, and I jotted down just a few notes. Pretty much was just going to thank Jeff for the leadership that he and Celisa have provided to this community, right? We are an underserved population in the association space. So Jeff, probably following the same advice that he gives to us on a regular basis, understand your market, understand its needs, and try and figure out a better way to serve it. So Jeff and Celisa, thank you very much for the work that you've done to bring this community together. A couple of the themes I identified this morning, and I am currently titleless. I was the VP of Learning.
It wasn't just my guess.
No, I have no title because I just picked up membership and business development. So I'm supposed to create an overall sales and customer strategy for the organization. So if you never see me again, you'll understand why. I'll let you know what I think about it in about a year from now. The thoughts I jotted down were mostly around the start of Seth's grand challenge. And I've thought about my way that I approached product and service development in the association space. And then I realized there was nothing in Seth's remarks or the way he approaches it that really talks about products or services. And I think we are often in the product and service box. And so I started to think about that. What if I took myself out of that box and I said, it's really about finding the great challenge or the great opportunity and leveraging the power that associations tend to have that no other groups have, and that's the power to convene. We have a very strong power to bring people together. And we work and we live inside of these really complex ecosystems. I can't think of other organizations that often have suppliers and customers and educators and providers all in the same space. And we really do have an opportunity in the learning space to convene those thought leaders, to really address those grand challenges and try and figure out what we're going to do in the third sector, or what we're going to do with the rest of the 50 years of continuing education that we have. And then I started to think about value. I heard the word value coming up over and over and over again this morning. And I thought, man, it's the disruption of the 2010. It's like the buzzword of the year. It used to be disruption, now it's about value. And I started to think, so all of our CEOs must be reading the same books, attending the same sessions, right? If you know Scott Wiley, he's the chair of ASAE, and he makes sure that we're always moving and always shaking, never leaving a stone unturned. But I thought about value creation, and we have a lot of the power to create, and we have been creating for a while. But our new value might be to capture, right? The value to capture value and knowledge and information and bring those people together and figure out ways that we can amplify that value, that we can condense that value, and eventually think about ways to monetize that value as all of our business models are disrupted and we're trying to figure out how we're really going to provide value. It may not be in creating a product or a service. It really may be as that essential thought leader in the space that brings the parties together to solve those great big grand challenges. And I'm pleased to be able to sit in a room with all of you and think about how we're going to reinvent our business models and reinvent our business for the future. So, Jeff, thank you.
And hold on a second, Josh. So there is an actual award to go with this.
No cash prize, you said?
No cash prize. We'll be forming the Leading Learning Foundation soon, and we'll work on the cash prizes. Okay. And now's